Gambling is a way to understand how addiction and economics interact so that people's pain can be used as a way of making money. We're talking about gambling addiction. It's on the rise. Or is it? £5 each way. I'm being silly. Let's have a look.
Thousands of online sites wanting your money. Few limits to what you can spend. Offers enticing you in or to get you back. All part of one of the most liberal gambling markets in the world, right here in the UK.
So in the social political landmass that we call England and Great Britain, or he called the UK, the figure has risen to 400,000 problem gamblers. In the last year, 13.8 billion was spent in the UK by gamblers. This is a massive business. That feeling, that tendency to gamble is a business. So there's an interest in keeping it alive. How did it get so bad? What's created the problem? What's exacerbated the problem?
Increasing tax revenues was the main driver for Tony Blair deregulating the British gambling industry.
There is no evidence from around the world that it causes the problems that people are talking about.
Tony Blair with his no evidence catchphrase. There's no evidence that there aren't weapons of mass destruction. There's no evidence that this causes any problem. He's come out, grinned, kicked society up the nuts, and off he goes again. So it was deregulation under Blair's government that's caused this problem to get much worse. Has it got much worse? Yeah, there's been a 600% rise in gambling adverts between 2007 and 2014. Oh, they probably put adverts on knowing it has no impact. Well, no, it does have an impact. That's why adverts exist. 2 million people addicted to gambling are at risk of developing the problem. The number of British over 16s deemed to be problem gamblers has grown by a third over the last 3 years. But really, gambling, the cycle is it begins with pain and ends with pain. Like people that are gambling, they're looking for some pleasure. And in fact, the gambling activity, the activity of gambling, triggers endorphins in the brain in the same way that drug addiction does. The source material, the essential experience is the same. So gambling in a way is giving you endorphins. Endorphins is another way of saying happiness or pleasure. And the reason you need happiness and pleasure is because you are unhappy.
This man once worked on behalf of several leading online British gambling sites. Fearful of losing his current role in the marketing industry, he has asked to remain anonymous. His job was to lure in as many potential players as possible.
I love an anonymous interview, me. I've always enjoyed it. Voice distortion, someone in a hood talking about gambling, brilliant stuff. So this person's sort of like a whistleblower saying the gambling industry uses scurrilous techniques to get people gambling. Of course it does. Probably you'll watch this on YouTube and a gambling advert will probably come on right after it because the word gambling will probably be in our title. And you'll probably stop doing this and go and have some sort of mad gamble. Stop gambling.
It's definitely immoral, but it's there's nothing in legislation which prevents a gambling company or an agency working for a gambling company to target people in that way. We were told to send them as many players at the lowest cost, and we get paid to do so.
Whoever they were, whatever income they earned, if they were vulnerable, didn't matter.
That wasn't even a question. It was just a matter of people spending money on their site or losing money on their sites.
In a statement, the Gambling Commission said, "We expect gambling operators to market their products responsibly, in line with advertising rules to ensure they're socially responsible. Where operators fail to do this, we will not hesitate to use our powers to hold them to account."
We expect gambling operators to market their products responsibly in line with advertising rules to ensure they're socially responsible. Where operators fail to do this, we will not hesitate to use our power to hold them to account. Okay, but so look how many sort of moderated statements there are within this. We expect, that's hard to quantify, gambling operators to market their products responsibly. What do you mean by responsible? I mean, we've just heard anecdotal evidence and you could demonstrate through studies of technology that they're deliberately targeting the vulnerable. Is that responsible? I mean, it is if you're trying to make money. It's a very responsible thing to do in line with advertising rules. Now, who establishes advertising rules? Whilst this is ostensibly an item about addiction and the way that addiction functions as a means for coping and setting up structures in your life for coping with pain, it also demonstrates, how could it not, the way that legislative bodies, governments and corporate interests all align to perpetuate a system. Because a system is just these relationships corresponding to one another. They're not going to start attacking one another because there's no invested interest in doing that. The government and big business operate in alignment. This is just one little observable example of that, but as you know already, it's everything. That's the world that we live in. We live within the lines of these relationships, and hopefully we don't have an affliction that makes us bash against them lines. But if you are an addict of some kind, or you just walk down the wrong alleyway one day, mentally or literally, now you are in conflict with these systems and you'll just be chewed up by it. Like that guy saying, you know, I'm like getting bombarded with adverts because I'm vulnerable, because you're regarded simply as a unit of capital, a potential investment. So observe how in your own life, even if you're not a person afflicted with obvious addiction, how you are just a utensil of the powerful, and how if you try to not be that anymore, if you say, I don't want to operate in that way, look how difficult it is to extract yourself from that. You've got to work, you've got to have a job, you've got to do, you know, the rules are not set up in your favour. The rules are set up to, what do I want to say, to commodify you. You are a commodity. Your life is a commodity. Your children's lives are commodities.
Tonight, as many of us log on for a flutter, there is plenty to consider beyond red or black.
If you're affected by any of the issues that we've discussed, there's helplines and services that you can contact in the comments box and coming up on the screen now. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here. Not if you've got some sort of compulsion that makes you subscribe to things. Don't bother if you're that way inclined, but if you can subscribe safely, subscribe away.